So communication is one of the building blocks of marriage. If you're not able to talk through things, another part of effective communication is conflict resolution. If you throw gasoline on the fire, that's not an effective way to deal with conflict. When you're dealing with conflict, if you're not communicating effectively, then it turns into an argument and it's more fire, two fireballs going at each other. What's up, family, and welcome back to Preparing Men for Marriage, the channel that gives you marriage advice and prepares you for marriage. We've got a nice video coming up for you where we're going to be discussing the top marriage skills that every man should have. Before we dive into the video, though, I want to ask that you consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell notifications to make sure that you don't miss a thing. That being said, let's jump into this video. So what are some of the top marriage skills that every man should have? Number one, accountability. I say this all the time, that when you get married, your wife becomes an instant accountability partner for you. Oftentimes we look at our wives as being nags, but God has placed them there to help to hold us accountable. Why? So that we can be the best version of ourselves. Imagine that God loves you so much that he gives you someone that will make sure that you are accountable to God, accountable to yourself, and accountable to your family. Another thing with accountability is that you can also hold your wife accountable. You can hold her accountable, and so there's a standard that's set that we will be held accountable to the Word of God and to the things we say we're going to do, either for each other, for our family, or for ourselves, that we carry those things out. So accountability is one of the top marriage skills that every man should have. Let's just be honest. No woman will have respect for a man who does not have accountability. Because what that means is that if you're not accountable, you're not trustworthy. Another top marriage skill that every man should have is leadership. This also includes the spiritual side of things. Now, a lot of times we confuse leadership with your ability to tell a person to do something. That's not leadership. Leadership is the ability to be able to lead your family to success, to be able to lead your family to the things that God has said this is the plan for you, and you're able to follow God, again, spiritual leadership, so that you could get that thing that you're meant to have. That goal that was set, you're able to hit that. It's not about how macho you are. It's not about how many commands you can give to your wife and to your children. But a lot of the leadership stuff we talk about is just discipline in and of itself. This is some of that stuff where the world calls it alpha male, but it's really being able to lead. And in my mindset, there's no better way to lead than for me to follow God, so that God can give me the instructions on how to lead, because I don't know everything. And there's going to be areas and times where God is going to, at all times, is going to have to lead me even to what I think I know, to higher, to better. Another one of the top marriage skills that every man should have is just being able to be gentle. Again, the whole alpha male stuff, the whole macho man stuff is cool, but we also have to have that other side where we're gentle. We're gentle with our wives, we're gentle with women that were in our lives before our wives, and our children. Still doesn't mean that we can't put our foot down, okay, and mean what we say and say what we mean, but you can also be gentle. I think there are times where, as men, we do struggle with that, because we're supposed to be the strong ones. We're supposed to be the one who has it all together, and a lot of times that comes with a bravado. But being able to be gentle is a way to build trust within our marriages in and of itself, and in our families with our children as well. Something that I'm working on. Another top marriage skill that every man should have is great financial management, or stewardship, great stewardship. With that comes great credit. With that comes being able to save. With that comes being able to make great financial decisions. And I remember I met a guy when I used to work for a hotel, and he told me, I can't tell you how many times I've made a bad financial decision. That being said, even with saying that, he was in a great financial position, but there's still mistakes that we can make along the way. But it's not about the mistakes. It's about, again, the consistency of how you steward money. And that's seen throughout the course of different things in our lives. Are we able to say no? Are we able to take risks sometimes? But again, great financial management, which is also known as stewardship. Another one of the top marriage skills that every man should have is humility. Now, I love this because I actually had a conversation with a buddy of mine today where I was giving him a story of a conversation that I was having with my wife. And his response was, it's going to be what you say regardless. Maybe, but what I love is I love to give my wife the opportunity to speak something to me, to give her input. Because again, oftentimes our wives are used as accountability partners for us, but oftentimes they see things sometimes that we don't see. So getting input, again, from the person that God gave me so that I can be my best self, because I might have missed something, I just might need to humble myself. And the humility can also be a part in going back to the second thing we talked about, which was leadership. Sometimes leadership is knowing that I don't have to make the decision, but I can humble myself and give my wife the opportunity to make the decision, or give my wife the opportunity to speak something to me that I may need to hear. Maybe it gets applied in this conversation, maybe it gets applied later. But the humility to be able to even hear what your wife has to say, to me, is a form of humility. It's not the opposite of being an alpha male, but it is allowing the person that you married, that God gave you, hopefully God gave her to you, to be able to help you, again, be the best version of yourself. Another top marriage skill that every man should have is to be able to effectively communicate. Communication is not just you talking and, again, barking commands. A part of effective communication is being able to listen. But another part of effective communication is being able to not listen to respond per se. Sometimes things have to soak in. There's been times where, again, as part of the humility conversation, where my wife has said something to me and I had to humble myself, and in humbling myself, it even changed the way I communicated, because maybe I was being passive aggressive, maybe I was being aggressive. Two of the four ways in which we communicate. So effective communication is one of the building blocks of marriage. If you're not able to talk through things, another part of effective communication is conflict resolution. So it's not its own topic. It very well could be, but that's a part of effective communication, being able to resolve conflict. If you throw gasoline on the fire, that's not an effective way to deal with conflict. Dealing with conflict is a form of communication, because typically when you're dealing with conflict, if you're not communicating effectively, then it turns into an argument, and it's more fire, two fireballs going at each other. Another one of the top marriage skills that every man should have is forgiveness. I've always said this, that there's two sides of forgiveness. There's the side that says that I'm going to have to be forgiven, and that I'm going to have to forgive. And as long as you live this life, you're not going to be perfect, and there's going to be something that you've done to offend your spouse, or something that you could have done better, an area in your life where you could have been better. So you will need forgiveness. And with remembering that should help you to forgive. Another one of the top marriage skills is being romantic. Intimacy. We do realize that intimacy is not just sex, but intimacy is being able to make your wife feel wanted before you ever put your hands on her. It could be watching a movie. It could be giving that time, okay, that intentional time. It could be a massage. It could be what married folks do. It's all tied to that, but being romantic, remembering why you're together. and appreciating the fact that God has given you someone that you can love on for the rest of your life. It's one of the top marriage skills that we can't forget about. Last but not least, one of the top marriage skills that every man should have is protection. Instantly, when we hear protection, we think about that you'll fight for her, you'll die for her, you'll go to war for her. But those aren't the only ways to protect the woman. Sometimes the best way to protect the woman is to protect her emotions, to make her feel safe. That's one of the biggest things with women, is that they want to feel safe. And sometimes, again, the bravado and the macho-ness is not what makes them feel safe, because it actually puts you and her in the danger zone. So being able to protect by deflecting, protect by letting it go. And then there's just some times where where you might have to do what you got to do to show protection. You might have to say and be very stern with your words to get somebody to push back. Get out of your face, get out of her face. So listen, we've just talked about some of the top marriage skills that every man should have. Leave it in the comments if there's something that I forgot. Also, you've made it this far in the video. I want to say, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Okay? We give marriage advice and we help men prepare for marriage. If you can find value in those type of things, that type of topic, we'd like to ask that you like, share, comment, and make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you're not missing anything that we've got going on. All right? We've got a lot coming up in 2026. And we'll see you on the next video.
Wait a second, before you go, I got one more thing.
Hey, what's up, man? Are you prepared for marriage? Oftentimes we look to the finish line of marriage, but we forsake the idea that there is so much intense preparation that is needed to properly steward a marriage and to be adequately. Good morning. Find out that after leaving the altar, marriage just this book here is for you, and I want to make sure that you get it so that you have the right mindset behind marriage before you dive into it. And if your mindset is not right, that we can change that, at least so that you have a healthy idea of God's design for marriage.